because you actually became even more successful as an entrepreneur and as a professional, now as an author.
Everything is here, so you just leave it on the side. Whenever you have experienced that as an immigrant, as coming to this country, learning new rules,
you can get something done no matter what. Like, you can make a change. You can persevere. You can make it.
Seeing my grandfather so confident, that was normal for me. Fearless.
The thing about us as entrepreneurs has this like fire that we could do anything.
I just think that everything happens for a reason, and there is always opportunities to reinvent yourself. It was a very good opportunity for me to evolve.
Then it was freeing when I finally came through it to realize that those were all just expectations that society puts on you, and that to be happy and to be free of that is where you live your true life. And that's really what you should be showing other people and your children, because I don't want my children to live by those expectations. Jeannette, it is such an honor to have you here with me on the Passport Jane podcast. We were business acquaintances, and I really just this last year got to know you better and really your story. And I got to know you a little better from your book, Reborn. And we traveled together recently. You actually had an open house in Mexico at the beach, and you invited us to come and tour the house, and it was incredible. And there is where you gave me a copy of your book, which I really enjoyed. So it was just such an honor to get to know you as the real person, because I've seen you in the real estate industry and, you know, the things that you've done professionally. But that is the whole purpose of the Passport Jane podcast, is to get to know inspiring women who are on a journey, and especially expat women and women who've made the leap of faith to move abroad, start a new chapter, and, you know, do incredible things. And you've done that. And so today, I can't wait to share that story with our listeners today. So I guess take me back to, I would love to just talk about your childhood, and because you talk about it in your book, the kind of family you were raised in and driving the truck, and I just love those little details. So tell us about that, your childhood, and then we're just going to kind of progress.
Yes. And thank you so much for inviting me and for the opportunity to share this with you, because I am pretty sure that when people and different people that reads the book, I'm going to connect in a different page or a different chapter, because we all have something in common, and I'm pretty sure everyone has a different story. My story from childhood, I love to go to my dad parents. Okay, so my grandfather, very macho, so he had like many animals, horses, goats. So having those weekends with them, for me, it was kind of recharging. So I think that being with my grandfather gave me a lot of confidence, because I was so little and I was just walking so confident next to him. But he was pushing me to do a lot of stuff. And I think that childhood, being so loved and being so pushed and being so confident, is what shapes you in life.
Which part of Mexico are you from?
Monterrey.
Okay. So you lived with your parents during the week for school, and then you would go visit your grandparents on the weekends.
I was so anxious to go.
Yeah.
To be Friday, and I can go and spend time with them.
Yeah. Probably my happiest memories of my childhood were at my father's mother's house. My grandmother, she had a farm. She lived so simply. We got up in the morning. We went and worked in the garden all day. We just did things around the house. We took a nap every day because it was a ritual of us having this. It was like, get up, work. We have our little lunch. We take our nap, and then we get up and we work some more. And she didn't have AC or heat in Texas. And so I grew up very simply, but with that, but it was my most favorite memories. And I spent the most time with her. And I think the biggest impact in my life. And I think reading your book, that seemed to me that there were so many little stories about the impact that your grandparents made on you and shaping your identity in a way. So what do you think? Can you give us some specific details? I know we talked about driving the truck. Tell us about that story.
Oh my God. Driving, I remember that there was no pavement, right?
Yeah.
And I was just so anxious to go and start like doing the stick. And I was driving whenever I was 9 years.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that you become like fearless.
Yeah, I know. I learned to drive really early too. I lived on the farm, and I think in the farm it's just like needing another person to help you in a way too, because they kind of expect you to like go get that or go pick up the sticks or go carry the thing for the animal or do this.
But it wasn't like it is now. So it wasn't that dangerous. It was a very different environment and very secure. So you didn't have like many houses around. So you were more like free to drive in the camp.
I know. Well,
right?
I just took my son last weekend to visit my parents, and he's 17, and he really is terrified to drive in Houston. I mean, he's just like, why are you making me do this? But we get there, and I said, you have to. We're going to do it. I learned to drive in the country. I learned to drive a stick shift, and I got like, you have to do it. And so we get in the car, and I like got him away from everything, and I'm like, okay, we're going to do it. And so an hour or two later, we started going on the country roads. And then, but you're right, there's not as much, traffic, things to hit, and he slowly got the confidence. But I just thought back, for me, that was just normal. I learned in that environment, so I never had that fear of things and stuff. But
that is so good what you say, because so if you are with fear, you just pass that fear to the other person. Yeah. So probably you didn't experience that. No. I didn't experience that. Teaching our kids, I have thought, okay, 4 of my 5. So the 5th one, sometimes I just take him to the parking spot. I mean, at night, just to see if he can just
go forward and backward.
Exactly, just a little bit. Yeah. But that is something important. So seeing my grandfather so confident and so macho and so that was normal for me.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, fearless.
Yeah.
So, and whenever you're with your kids, they get the same. Yeah. So it's like pushing them, okay? And that was a good experience. And I think that every time I was like just practicing with them and okay, check, just having like, I have to teach them, they have to get the permit, they have to, so next. So by the time that one was driving, so I have to teach the other one. And for me, it became a need.
Yeah.
A need, and for them fun. So it was good to have all those together. So.
Yeah. So you lived there with your family, comfortable. You were more, I think, like, you identified more with the macho-ness of your grandfather and that I can do this, and you had that spirit about you. And I was actually talking to Natalie, Dave, this morning. We were having a conversation about being the way you're raised. Sometimes you take on the identity of maybe your mom's role, or you take on like a family, but you see someone in a different light, and that impresses upon you that that's more the person you want to be. Because I know my sister and I were raised in the same environment, and we have a completely different like personality and outlook on everything. But I emulated my life after my grandmother, who was single, independent, did not, my grandfather died young. She didn't even get married until she was 40. She had children really fast, and then my grandfather died. So she was, by herself. And then I saw my dad. My dad was an entrepreneur, and he was on the road, and he was traveling, and he was working, he was building, and he was selling. And I identified more with that than I did with the role of caregiver and mild and meek. And like, I just didn't identify with that role. And because I saw these people that I really admired in a different role. So I just got that you've had both, because you're a mom, and I'm a mom, but something about us as entrepreneurs has this like fire and this it's just this fuel. And I think it's fuel because we had an influence of people that were fearless or believed in us that we could do anything.
But at the same time, as you say, for example, my grandfather, very confident and macho. It's not that I like the macho.
Yeah.
I like some stuff
So,
from the
yeah.
macho side. So, but at the same time, he had like a very special love for me because I was kind of challenging him. I don't like that. So even those, the way that we grew up, my grandma was very like the submissive lady. So probably I didn't see that at that time, but I remember whenever my grandfather was making so kind of a macho comments, and I was like, no,
you can't do it.
no. So, and he loved me because he was like a very respectful guy, and nobody was able to stand up and just tell him this and this. So probably he loved me because I didn't care, and I was like, no, grandpa. So that is not the way. So he was not used to that. So that's why I was the little girl, and he was just smiling a little bit. But it's challenging him.
Yeah. I think I'm that way with my family, with my dad. My mom and my sister all defer to my dad. And when I come to visit, I'm the one, they're like, oh, your dad won't do that. I'm like, yes, he will. He will do it. We will get them, like, even with something as simple as like taking a medicine or going to the doctor or whatever it is, or your dad will never agree to that. And for some reason, I can say, we're going to do this, Dad, we're doing this, or we're doing this for Mom, or we're going to move that, or whatever it is. And he's just like, okay. Because, we probably fought a lot growing up over the stuff because I was very strong-willed too. And he just knows that I don't think that I have to back down. And I have a totally different relationship with my father than, my sister and my mom. And I just think it's so funny because they'll say, oh, Dad will never do that. You can't. And I can talk to him and he will listen.
That is personality too.
Yeah.
That is personality and that is experiences. And so it's everything together. You are a unique person with your memories, with your fears, with everything that makes you a unique person. So that's why you're going to see your father and your mother in a very different way than your siblings.
Yeah.
And I experienced that too.
Yeah.
Because, for example, being always next to my grandpa, and I was so confident, and I was so, I never took a no as an answer. That shaped me. So, and probably it's like, I don't get it. For me, the no doesn't exist. So, and that is very different from my siblings.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time is how that experience and memory is the person that you are now. Because, I mean, probably the no as an answer, that I don't take it, is like the obstacle is the way. You find a way.
You find a way, yes.
You find a way.
Find a way.
So, and you become creative. So,
I know, but it also, I think, makes you the entrepreneur that you are, the mother you are, because if you grow up that way and you look at everything as, I don't have to do this because somebody tells me I have to, or society told me I have to do this, or, I mean, sometimes I fell into that trap. I fell into the trap of, from a religious standpoint, or from what you were supposed to do as a wife, or what you're supposed to be as a mother or an entrepreneur. But I think just that belief that you're capable and that you can question something and you can get something done no matter what. Like, you can make a change. You can persevere. You can make it. And I do think that carries over, and you don't realize like that's building your whole life from childhood.
And your kids too.
Yes.
Because you live as an example, and sometimes you teach your kids and the values and everything, but it's not the words, it's the actions.
Yeah.
So, and if they see that, so I hope that they become better than you, the better version of you. So, and yes, I think that is something that you take from, and that is a good thing about, taking from your dad, taking this from your mom. We are not perfect.
Right.
So, and I hope that my kids take the best from me and
Yes.
the best from the dad
Yes.
and the experiences and memories and everything are going to shape them in a unique way.
Yeah. So you grew up in a loving family and with it surrounded by your grandparents. And then where did you go to the university? I know you're an architect by trade. So tell me about your young adult journey.
So I went to Universidad Autónoma de Nuevo León. So that is in Monterrey. And I remember that my dad was telling me, okay, why don't you become like a business? And I was like, no, I want to be an architect. Just in my way, I always wanted to. It was so funny because I was just laying down on the floor and I was just checking the lines and perimeter of the house. It was so funny.
Because you could see.
Because I
design.
could see like a floor plan. It was so funny because I wanted just to imagine like different furniture, and I was just creating. So whenever, going to college and getting my bachelor's degree, so for me it was so much fun just to put more than and my professor, one of them, it was an engineer. So that wasn't that fun because
So
you
the engineering
see the
side
whole
of it,
thing.
yeah.
But I think that I had a very good way to express what what was in my mind.
Yeah.
So I started to work with a famous architect in Mexico right away after I graduated. And he made two iconic buildings in Monterrey that they are very well known in Mexico. And then he was building big residences. So I told him, you know what? I like to design, but I like to be on the field. And he was like, okay, go. And I remember the first project, I was in charge of 40 guys. Okay? I was 23.
Wow.
And for me to have that connection with the workers, and at the same time being a woman and very young, it was another way to shape my personality because I was putting limits and respect and managing the whole remodeling. So it was a very fun stage in my life.
Yeah. I love that. So as a young professional, as an architect, so how long did you work as an architect in Mexico?
I think it was like 5 years. And then I came to Texas.
Okay. So tell me about that journey. How did you end up in Texas?
Okay. So I was born in the United States.
Okay.
And by coincidence. And my mom was here with the family. And I happened to be born here and have my U.S. citizenship.
Okay.
That it was in my drawer. Okay. Whenever I was going to get married, I said, I have the citizenship. Why don't we go to Texas? Always in my mind that free spirit that lives in me. Yeah. That sometimes you just want to fly.
Yeah, just go somewhere new. Let's try it.
Let's try it and explore a new country. And so I took from it the drawer my citizenship, and we came to Texas whenever I was 25.
How was I guess I've talked to a lot of people that immigrate or that you had your citizenship, but just coming and the paperwork and helping, your husband, like how was the move and the culture shock, and like how was your experience when you came to Texas? And did you go to Houston or where did you go first?
Straight to Houston.
Okay.
Because he's an engineer and okay, this is oil and gas.
Right.
So it's Houston.
Yeah.
So we started the process with an immigration attorney. So guiding us and everything was good and was planned. Of course, we had to get married before getting married in Mexico, and everything was just to do the paperwork and come legally to this country. And this country became our house, our home. So for me, I'm part of both sides. So I turned 49 yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So in 1 year, it's going to be 25 years and 25 years. Exactly. So half of your life in one country and
yet another. That's an amazing story. I love that perspective on, yes, what shaped you and who you are today, that you're both. You were born and raised in Mexico, and then you've started another chapter in the U.S. that's just as long as the chapter that you spent on your home country. So you moved here. Were you working in architecture? Or I know that you started to have children. So tell us that next chapter.
The next chapter, because I'm like hyper, I need to be doing something, and that is my fuel. I need to be creating. I was helping actually an architect, and I was doing all the drawings. So whenever I was pregnant, and being pregnant in those years, I just wanted to do more stuff. So my mom used to have a production of her bows for kids, for girls, right? And I said, okay, so I'm going to bring the samples. I'm going to start like going to the boutiques and selling these hair bows. So I was selling because I need to be doing something. So I was working with that, and I was working with an architect doing the drawings. And that was probably the 1, 2, 3 until I was pregnant with the fourth girl. Yeah. And I said, no, I'm lying. I'm sorry. Is whenever I was pregnant with Sophia, that is my third, I was helping an architect over there. And I was doing my thesis at the same time. And I said, you know what? I want to go back to school. And I decided to take the real estate course. Really? Because it's a perfect combination.
It is. I know. I've always loved architecture, interior design, traveling, and real estate. It's kind of all because it ties in. Residential real estate ties into architecture and engineering and interior design. And so I think the reason I loved real estate was because I loved houses. I loved design. And it was just, I think every time I go to see a house, sometimes my clients aren't as happy as I am. I walk in and I'm like, look at that, look at this, look at the design, look at this, or look at the garden. And sometimes I say, well, I know I'm not buying this house, but it's exciting to see that. And I think every time we open a door, that there's this opportunity to experience that design or, what it is.
And for me, it's very easy, and it's so funny because my mind, it works like a Minecraft. So whenever I get into that property, I just started to transform and tear down walls and then just see. And of course, I just express, okay, no, I don't like this. And I say, why? Because this and this. Okay, and what about if we move this? And I just start naturally to transform spaces. Yeah. So it's fun, but it's not fun whenever you want to do that at your house, right? And it's fun to help clients.
It is, because you can't do it all the time for yourself. Yes. Because I think about all the houses I love. I love Victorian houses. I like modern houses. I like, contemporary. I love beach houses. And it does give you the opportunity to do more and experience more, because you can't do that for yourself. You can't reinvent your house every, month or whatever. Yes. And so I do. That is interesting that you've said that, is that we get to live vicariously through our clients. And I think that's why I love international real estate so much too, because I get to go overseas and do the same thing and see other architecture and more design, global design.
Global.
Yes. And you too.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that, because as you say, is one thing takes to the other. And the great thing that is, we can put it together, and we can, in global, whenever you say global, and we just think it that way, in global real estate, global is the global vision of everything. So helping over there, And then you have the experience with the remodeling or the experience with the transaction, and you just give the full package.
Yes. Yeah.
As a service to your clients.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So you went back to school, you got your real estate license, and then how did that evolve? And you had another child, so during this time. So how did your real estate career start in Houston?
So whenever I was pregnant with my fourth, I was like, I'm going to take my test. And as soon as I have my girl, I'm going to have the test. I mean, I'm going to practice and have a sponsor. So I started right away whenever my baby was 2 months. I think I sold my first house.
Really?
So that was around the corner. So it was a teacher. And then I sold another house. Actually, it was in the Woodlands, and it was my friend's neighbor. And it was a big house. So right away, I became Rookie of the Year. So, and for me was because you may think, okay, is this going to be a hobby? And I don't know, it's like everyone thinks that this is so easy. I'm a people's person. Whenever that is like for real. So you just need more than that is skill to make it work. But I just started as a Rookie of the Year, and it's like I really love this. So, well, since then I have been thank God top producer.
Yeah,
and this has been my passion because sometimes you just see it. I mean, it's not the sale. It's helping people to start new chapters. And sometimes closing chapters.
Yeah. I know. Sometimes you're sad. Sometimes it's hard to walk that walk with a client as they're downsizing or they've lost a spouse or financially they're having to make a decision that they don't want to make. And a lot of times people, I call that where you've got your 30 or 40 years in a home and then you're having to move into a chapter that you really never wanted to move into. And you're like leaving 30 years of things and memories. And that is heartbreaking as an agent to walk, but it's also a gift to be able to walk with somebody through that and all those chapters, death, divorce this last year. And I know when we talk about your book more, you've walked through a chapter, divorce. Divorce is a really hard chapter to help people with, because a lot of times it's not ideal for both people to have to deal with a house or relocate or, start a new life. And sometimes that new life isn't as great, like financially maybe, or even the house isn't. And that is hard, but it is a joy to be that person, to be able to help people. And then sometimes we see a lot of the wonderful chapters, the chapters of people that, are making it financially or who've made a move for a job or they've outgrown their family has grew and or their parents are coming to live with them and they're adding to that home. So
but it's good to experience both because you become even as a therapist. And whenever you personally have experienced those new beginnings and being on other people's shoes, like an immigrant, I have been there. So whenever I came to this country, my English was so basic. That doesn't mean that my English is perfect. I'm learning at the same. I'm still new words, and the grammar is not perfect, and the Sofia Vergara's accent is there. So, but at the same time, I took the fear out of that because sometimes we just feel judged and you don't want to speak, and everything has fear, so you just leave it on the side. And whenever you have experienced that as an immigrant, as coming to this country and adapting and learning new rules, the process, the legal side of owning a property is I had been there. And everything just becomes easier because you have empathy and it's easy to do it and help whenever you have been in that process.
Yeah. So when you've walked in those shoes. Yes. I love that about life. And that you can see it from a different perspective when you've actually been there yourself, to be able to give back when you know what you went through. And I think we see that a lot. I think in your book, you talk a lot about that, of going through a very painful chapter in your life. And I think your book was probably, and you can tell me, but I feel like your book was there as a therapy to also help other women that are navigating that as well. Because I think we don't talk about that a lot. We don't talk about the emotional toll that things take on us when we do have new chapters, and chapters sometimes that we weren't expecting or planning. And I think that's something from your book is a key of resiliency and reinvention, and as an inspiration, especially to women, I think. So.
And I think that is fear everywhere. And we don't share why, because we don't want to be judged. So we don't want to feel vulnerable. And I think that vulnerability is the arena of growth. So whenever I started to write my book, it was a decision, because pain is something that you can't avoid, but suffering is your decision if you want to suffer it or not. So I decided that I wanted to heal and just do a closure. And for me, I requested the annulment of my marriage through the Catholic Church. And for me, it was like, I think it was like, probably I started and then I put it on hold because I was not ready. And then I told my kids, I'm going to do this. It's going to be painful. I may be just writing. And it was a very deep moment that I was sitting in my living room, typing and crying. And they were so respectful that they didn't interrupt. They knew that I was in a process. And healing is that. So I allowed myself to go through that process. And I was so very into writing the story, digging into memories. I couldn't even remember some stuff. I was calling my friends and, can you remind me? Can I see the perspective, share the perspective whenever we were younger? And so, and that took me to write the book.
Yeah. Well, I loved all the stories and the inspiration. Something that I particularly was, I guess, surprised, and I always love learning about people because we walk sometimes these chapters in our life that are very painful, and everybody has in their life, they have some form of grief. I mean, we have death, we have, maybe our childhood or a divorce or financial issue, or everybody has that. I mean, life is heartbreaking. It's joyful. It's heartbreaking. Something though that I had gone through with a really good friend of mine was a cancer journey that ended with her death. And, it was a really hard because it was a several year journey that I walked with her, and, it changes you. Being with someone at the end of their life changes you. It makes you more grateful for life. I think you see things, differently. You want to do things more joyful. You want to share more things. You want to make a bigger impact. But you also grieve and miss that. But I was so impressed with that. You talked about how you volunteered with the Catholic ministry. And could you tell me what your role was there? Because I think it takes a really unique perspective to take on what you did with your ministry work.
I think that it was a call in my heart, and they were offering to be a Eucharistic minister, to take the Holy Eucharistic to to the sickness.
Okay.
To
Can you share what that is for a listener who's not
Yes,
Catholic?
the Catholic is the Holy Communion.
Okay.
Okay, so you take the Holy Communion to the sick.
Okay.
And that is you need to be trained, okay, and authorized to do that, because you go through a process of learning. It needs to be in a very to do in a very respectful way, and I can't even remember the word in Spanish, because you have a container that holds the Holy Communion to protect Jesus, because for us as Catholic, is Jesus in that piece of bread, right? And I was visiting people that was requesting the Holy Communion, and mainly people with cancer, in the last stage of cancer. I remember Dr. Quadra. He was my first sick person that I visited and took the Holy Communion.
You're going to make me cry.
And
I'm already tearing up.
And he was, and I gave him the last one.
Yeah.
So, but to walk with the family and just to see the grace that it was around the house in their family, knowing and walking with him the last path of his life, I can tell you that it's so sad, but it's so powerful. I took the Holy Communion to Griselda. Griselda had stage 4 cancer also. And it was very sad because she was the last stage. She was at home, and then she went to the hospital. And I remember that I was helping the parents translating. They were so humble, and I was translating everything that the doctor said. And I remember that the doctor said that he couldn't understand how was she. She was alive.
Yeah.
She's like, he was like, I don't know how she makes it. And I said, okay, what are we waiting for? So are you going to send her home? Or he said, we're just waiting for her to pass. So I took the Holy Communion, and then I hold her hand, and I said, Griselda, what are you waiting for? And this was so powerful, because I could have this kind of conversations. And she said, promise to me that you're taking me to Mexico, because I don't want to die here. I want to die in Mexico. And I said, I can't promise you, because there is no way that there's no ambulance that can take the responsibility to take you to the border. But I told you that I don't know as an answer. I remember that I had a friend whenever we were in college, and he had ambulances in Mexico. And I called him and I said, I remember that you had ambulances. And he's like, Jeannette, I now have helicopters. And I said, well, I need an ambulance. I need an ambulance in the border. I need your help to make this the last dream for this person. So a friend was able to take Griselda with the oxygen in the back of it was a truck with the double seat. He took Griselda, and I was monitoring everything. The trip to the border. And then by some point, I was calling the ambulances in the ambulance in Mexico to head to the border. So So we made it happen. And they sent me the picture of Griselda whenever they transfer in the border and put her with the IV and all that just to make her trip more comfortable. Griselda, whenever the ambulance arrived to this little town, all the people were outside waiting for her and welcoming her. And she was there in her house with family, and probably it was after 3 days she passed. And that was amazing.
Yeah.
Because she was able to go home and be with family and the loved ones. And we were so fortunate to be part of that.
Yeah.
And I say we, because all my kids, they were always involved in helping and being aware that is life.
Yeah. So I loved that. I loved that from your book. It was really powerful, and it reminds you of why we're here and the life we have, that we need to be grateful for the life we have and grateful for life and birth and death. And, but we have those moments that are beautiful and tragic. And, it was very impactful to me when I was reading about that. And it takes a different kind of heart and person to be there at the last moments for someone. And, so yeah, thank you for sharing that. It meant a lot to me. So, all right, you had another chapter. So you were married for a long time. Tell us about that. And you got a divorce, and it wasn't really what you'd planned, I don't think, in life. To like you weren't expecting that chapter, and it kind of changed you. And so can you tell us about that and a little bit about your marriage, that the good, the maybe the bad, and then I can't wait to get to the present day.
So it was a married 17 years, and whenever you say, okay, you do what society says, right? And I was like, okay, I was a good girl, going to school, going to college, have your degree, getting married, having all kids that God sends you. So I was kind of following like a pattern that society says, right? And probably I didn't notice it. And not to get into details about the marriage, but probably very different, let's say, mindset. I'm the girl that doesn't take the no as an answer, the free spirit, creativity, my imagination it's working every time. And for me, it's like dreaming and growing. And probably the mindset was very different. And I feel, and I try to teach this to my kids, it's not the money.
Right.
It's not the budget. It's when you have a scarcity with money, you have a scarcity with mindset, with love, with time, with everything.
Yeah.
So, and for me, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's like, if my daughter has a dream, how can I say, no, because we don't have money for that. It's not the money. It's like, dream.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see how can we make it work. Yeah. Let's explore possibilities.
Yeah.
And I see it, and I think if I have invested in something, it's in therapy. I think that is the best investment in life, is just to see life in a very different perspective and different ways. It's not just one way to see it. And seeing this, from this side, not as a victim.
Right.
So as a victorious person. Not with the scarcity. It's just it gives you a lot of possibilities. Whenever you're not proving something to be accepted or to be loved, is like removing a wall,
Right.
Removing a ceiling.
Yeah.
And I just think that everything happens for a reason. And there is always opportunities to reinvent yourself. And whenever you transform the obstacle in opportunities, for me, even with fear, starting this from scratch again, it was a very good opportunity for me to evolve.
Yeah.
Okay. For me it was, okay, so 5 kids. I'm sorry, but child support doesn't cover everything. And I don't know I don't want to get into politics and law, but it's an amount that is very symbolic. And for me, the meaning of child support is not set by an amount.
Right.
It's to be there, to be present, to support your kids, to be there whenever they are sick, whenever you have to say, I'm sorry, I'm sick, to a client, I'm sorry, my kid is sick. So that is not covered by a child support. So in saying that, being with that fear, for me became my fuel, because I didn't want to move to a place and downsizing.
Right. You wanted to keep your children's life stable.
So
in this.
I worked so hard to keep it as smooth as I could, being in the same zip code, being with the same friends, with the same neighbors, and just to keep that as home. That was my motivation, to make it simple for them.
Yeah.
Because having too many transition changes in life, I can see my story as a single woman.
Yeah.
But for them,
yeah, you were grieving over the loss of their stability.
So that became my motivation.
That.
Became my motivation, and I transformed that fear in something else.
Yeah. Because you actually became even more successful in your life as an entrepreneur and as a professional, now as an author. It's interesting, the things that propel us into the next chapter. And sometimes it's those fires and those really difficult chapters that are preparing us for the next thing, that we think we're walking through something so difficult that we don't realize that it's actually just pushing us to the next thing. And I love that about the age we are now, is that looking back, we can see it. At the time, you can't see it. You're going through it and you're just like, this is horrible. This is like, how am I going to do it? I don't know how I'm going to take care of my kids, or, it's just such a struggle. But you do it. And I think as a mom too, sometimes I see moms all the time do really difficult things for their children, and their children have no idea. And I remember I worked a job after I had a corporate job, and on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I worked from 5 until midnight at a restaurant. And I did that to pay for the childcare so that my kids would have a place. Like it was like I was having to do a job just so they could have this, and they, of course, they didn't know what, when they were, and then you feel guilty because you're away, and that, you wish you were at home, but then you're like, I can't pay if I don't do this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, then I can't have, my kids can't have this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, I think as moms, you see all the sacrifices, but I think it makes our kids better, because our kids see that work ethic, and they see that entrepreneur spirit, and they see that going through a hardship did not break you, that it can take you down, but they see that resilience. And I love that about your story, is that example of, getting something thrown at you that you weren't really expecting, or that wasn't ideal for the life that you thought you were going to have. And I think for me, I did the same thing. I was raised in a really religious home where you do this, 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 you're a good wife, you're all this. And those things fell apart for me really young. And then I had a lot of guilt about it falling apart, because I didn't want to be perceived as a bad person or a bad wife or a bad mom. or a bad daughter. And, but then it was freeing when I finally came through it to realize that those were all just expectations that society puts on you. And that to be happy and to be free of that is where you live your true life. And that's really what you should be showing other people and your children, because I don't want my children to live by those expectations. And I still, sometimes I even see it with my daughter, and she'll say like, well, Mom, and I'm like, no, that's not right. That's what the world tells us we are supposed to do. That's not what real life is. And that you have to get outside of that and not think about what people expect you to be. And then you put those expectations on yourself to be that. And that's a lot of pressure because you're always working to try to fulfill the expectation instead of what brings you joy or happiness or peace and contentment.
But that is, you have mentioned a few words that are very powerful and powerful to be aware of, because one is fear.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have been through that. The other one is guilt.
Yeah.
Guilt. And I love to make research about frequency in emotions and all that. And that is, so for example, the fear and guilt is low emotions. So I remember that I was feeling guilty because I wasn't able to cook. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I can do whatever, but being in the kitchen, I can't. Having more than 3 ingredients in one recipe, I get stressed. Or not having the creativity to prepare something, and it's like kind of a tagging or that you need to prove, or if you are going to fail, and that is all fear.
Yeah.
So I remember whenever I told my kids, you know what? There is nothing to eat, nothing prepared, right? But the pantry is full and the fridge too. And you have the car and you can go to HEB. So I started to be detached of that, or feeling that, feel guilty.
Right.
And whenever you detach of that emotion, the fear, being guilty, you become like free.
Yeah.
And whenever you're free, you get more creative.
Right. You do.
And
I even think your children respect you more because they see that, and it's a better example of that.
But I'm just honest.
Yeah.
I don't want to fake it until you make it. I mean, I try to keep my life balanced, but it's not perfect. And I'm just honest with them. You know what? I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
So this is a team. So, and you help me with the kitchen, and you help me to bring the groceries, and blah, blah, blah. One day they said, Mom, so it was a little one. So what did you do? Because it was like, you do the dishwasher and you do the cleaning. What did you do? And I just went to the light switch and I said, I do magic. I was like, magic? And I said, yes, on and off. That is magic. And Mom pays this. So that's the magic that I do.
This refrigerator, yes.
This pool.
Yes. This refrigerator.
Exactly. That is magic. And mom does the magic. So at the same time, they become so aware and respectful and grateful. So this is a team.
I was in the car with you once. You offered to drive me home. And your son called. He's young, too. How old is your youngest? 13. Okay, so your son called, and he was asking or telling you he was about to cook for his friend. And I'm thinking my 17-year-old, if he was cooking for his friends, would probably be making ramen. Cereal. I don't know. Your son was going to make steak. He was grilling.
He was grilling.
He was about to grill. That makes sense now. At the time, I thought, gosh, he's really into culinary stuff. But he was very very proud. And you were like, that might be and he was
Because
like,
he wanted
no,
to take the steaks.
he wanted to use your steaks. And you were like, these are kids. But he was very like, yeah, he was so happy to be cooking for his friends, which I was very impressed with.
Well,
that makes a lot of sense.
So I like to go early to bed,
Uh-huh.
and I hear noises. It was 11, of course, it's summer. This was like 2 weeks ago. And I see him with the apron, cooking, preparing pasta.
Like homemade pasta.
From the scratch.
Wow.
Okay? He made the pasta. So it was kind of thick. With pesto. So that's, and if you, sometimes I just see it like, that is not my forte. It could be a weakness. I mean, yes, it's not. And I'm just sincere. I mean, it's honesty.
We all have things that we are just, we don't like. We're terrible at.
That made them not more than survive.
Right.
To create.
Yes.
Because he's 13 and he can make pasta from scratch.
Yeah. He found his gift.
And he even makes a video. And he grills. He grills. And he does a steak. He does. Yesterday I got as a gift from one of my clients that I love them. They know that I have been grilling. I just prefer to grill than cooking. And he gave me a thermostat, a thermometer, that you can even do it with the app. So now that my son and me, we are learning this process, we're enjoying this stage because I just prefer to grill and have my kids and have a nice steak and with veggies and all that stuff. But we are learning that together. But he can make nice hamburgers.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing. Yeah. So it's amazing to me that it was your weakness. You told the children they're going to have to help pitch in and like do this together, and that he found his passion from doing that as well.
All of them cook better than me. Like way, way better. All of them. So my weakness made them a way to be creative. Yeah. That the obstacle, again, that obstacle, mom is not always here.
Yeah.
So made them to be creative and they cook so well.
Yeah. So your kids, how old are your children now? I know you've got them almost out of the nest. You have the 13-year-old, so he's still, but you've almost got the girls are almost out of the nest. And we have talked about your next chapter. So tell me about where you are right now. You have a real estate team. So tell us about that. And then I want to hear about Spain.
So my kids are 22, 21, 19. Pauli is 17. For girls, and Carlos, that is my boy, that he's 13. So all of them very smart. Roberta just graduated industrial engineering, and actually she just got a job.
Her real job.
A job.
Yes. Where's it at? What's the?
This is it was in Iowa. She is in Fayetteville. Okay. And she saw this position for a mechanical engineering, a project manager with experience.
And she's just applied because she's
not taking. And she calls them and she says, well, I'm not mechanical engineering. I'm industrial engineering. I don't have any experience. But I love project management. So she got the job. That's amazing. So they are starting this company in Fayetteville where she is.
Okay.
So she's going to be for 6 months assistant project manager, and then she's going to run as a project manager in the new facility. So Andrea, business marketing, and she just got honors for spring for this spring semester. Sophia, chemical engineering. She got full ride in UT. Paulina is starting senior year in high school, and she may go to nursing school. We're going to explore schools. And my sunshine, that is my boy, Carlos.
Yes. And your chef.
Yes, my chef.
Your chef.
My chef. So those are my.
That's amazing. So we have worked together a little bit in global real estate, but when we were on our car ride, you were telling me that you had applied for your visas you're looking in Spain. So tell me about that process and what led you to Spain. And I know you did the pilgrimage. So could you tell us about that journey of doing the pilgrimage in Spain?
Spain calls me. I don't know why. So I just love it. And whenever I was doing everything with the annulment, with the not before the book, so I had my married last name. So for me, I had to go through the process and changing everything until I got like by the court that you can have your maiden name. Is that ridiculous? So I was approved. So, and then a friend that is an attorney, he said, you should explore, how did you call the genealogy?
Oh, your genealogy. Yes. Yes.
So I said, you know what? Let me explore it. Recovering my last name it was the meaning for me to recover my essence. And I did that. And they found out that 12 generations before me was coming from Spain and with the Sephardic community, Jewish community in Spain.
Really?
And I said, this is interesting. So I started the process. Actually, I'm dealing with an attorney in Portugal, and he's doing the process. And he told me that everything is looking good. The Sefardita, la comunidad Sefardita, the community already accepted my petition, and now needs to go through the process whenever I'm going to have the fully acceptance, and then do the passport. And this for me, I'm waiting still until I have the passport. I'm going to show it and say, you know what, it's done. And I did the pilgrimage. What is it? The
pilgrimage.
Pilgrimage. That was another call. It was something in my bucket list. And I got a phone call from one of my friends that he does seminars for entrepreneurs and exploring the visa in Texas or the visa and whenever it was the golden visa in Spain. So he said, why don't you come to this conference and talk about investing in Texas? And I said, okay. And then he said, do the Camino de Santiago, because that has been always that you wanted to do. And I said, by myself. He's like, why not? So he helped me to put it together, actually the wife. And for me was a call to see inside. And this, I knew everyone has this call just for a different thing. So probably to receive a message, or probably to ask for something. I knew that I was going to receive a message, but I didn't know what. So I was just like open for the signs, and it was.
So tell our listeners about the pilgrimage, like how long it is and like the terrain. And
so is this the shortest way? Because there is people that go, they can do it in 40 days, or so it depends. But the shortest way that you can do that is the express version. Is 111 kilometers. Okay, so you mainly go from one little city to other, and it could vary, like 10 kilometers, 15. One day I think it was like 25. So that was the longest and probably one of the hottest days in the history of Spain. So, but it was a very.
So how many days did it take you?
5.
Okay.
5
so
days.
You did 5 days.
It took me 5 days.
Yes. And I read that you walked the 25 kilometers one of those days. And so, yes. So tell us a little bit about that journey, and where did you sleep along the way and have community? And
I was kind of fancy because I said, no, you know what? I just prefer they have like little haciendas on the side of on the outside of the city. So you can do it every way that you want it. You can do it like a hotel. So I was like staying. So I already had, okay, we're going from this city to this city. And I had a service that they were carrying my luggage from one place to other. By the time that I arrived to the other place, my luggage was already there. So of course it's like after the walking, refreshing. But for me is in these beautiful places, it was connecting with the nature and kind of meditating everything that came like a sign during the walk. And they call it the way. It's St. James Way. And for me, it was very inspirational, and I got my message.
Yeah. So what was your message?
My message, it was in little pieces, one after the other, until I found out there was a lady from Mexico that was walking by herself. And every time that I was looking at her, so I was kind of cheering up. So you can do it, because I was always like passing her, right?
Yeah.
And then I shared with her the little, how do you call is the cane? I mean, to walk.
A walking cane.
The last time that it was like a little hill, and I said, just take it. Just take it. The last day, whenever I saw her, we were in the cathedral. So she sees me, and Jeannette, here's your cane. And I said, no, this is for you. And I said, I never ask you for, what's your name? And then she says, Soledad. Soledad, it's solitude. And then I just hugged her, because I was just waiting for that little piece in my puzzle.
Yeah.
And whenever I hugged her, so for me it was a sign and the message to embrace it, to embrace the solitude.
Yeah.
Because we see that sometimes the solitude is something bad. It's not bad.
Right. And to be with yourself.
To be with yourself, because it's growing at the same time. And just probably preparing for something else, or for something higher, greater. So for me, it was a beautiful experience, probably one of the best in my life.
Yeah.
All the time.
I know. And we just, there was a little lightning and thunder that just happened, which was the perfect timing at that end of that segment. So, Jeannette, I want to thank you so much for being here. I love watching you professionally do. You're amazing at what you do in real estate. But then after I read your book, I was, just for any viewers that want to see, it's Reborn by Jeannette Peña. It's on Amazon. And I really loved learning about you personally. And I know your story will be inspiring to others that are on a journey in life. And I can't wait to hear about your next chapter. And I just know that the next chapter that happens in Spain, I can't wait to witness it and come visit you. So.
Thank you so much. And for me, it has been just a pleasure to be sharing this with you, because it was just a flowing conversation, and to know each other more, like in a deeper way as humans, because sometimes we forget those connections. And we have been sharing professional, open house, international, and now sitting with you here. I just feel fulfilled. Thank you so much. And I'm so grateful.
Thank you for being a part of this chapter.